Okay, skip the intro. Not too long ago, I was going to make a video talking about Kemba Walker and the dilemma that he and the Charlotte Hornets were going to find themselves in entering this year's offseason. As Kemba Walker was easily having the best season of his career, and because of his performances, he was selected to be an All-NBA player, and since he was selected to be an All-NBA player and also was still in Charlotte, that means that he qualified for a Supermax contract. But then on the other hand, if you are Kemba and if you want to stay in Charlotte, financially speaking, signing a Supermax comes with implications that more than likely will financially cripple the team that you're signing to, which also would have been a problem for the Charlotte Hornets because they more than likely weren't going to be able to build anything substantial moving forward. But now fast forward to where we are today, and the outcome is even more convoluted than I originally thought it was going to be. And honestly, in a very, very rare instance, everyone ended up losing during this transaction, as Kemba and the Charlotte Hornets interacted with a sign and trade with the Boston Celtics and Terry Rozier, and now Kemba is in Boston and Terry Rozier is now in Charlotte, and again, everything just doesn't make any sense whatsoever. Everybody lost this transaction, and it is amazing to me how so many people are just casually overlooking how stupid all of this is. First, let's talk about Terry Rozier, because I'm pretty sure many people believe that Rozier came out on top during this transaction because he got paid. And to an extent, that is true. However, Rozier isn't this 32-year-old vet where he's trying to squeeze a game for the last penny and dime that he can. He's a young guard that's coming off of his rookie contract, so he needs to prove that he's worth more than just one big contract. And he's not going to be able to do that in Charlotte, because Charlotte is so poorly ran and the roster is so bad that even when Kemba Walker was performing at an All-NBA level, they still could not make the playoffs. So I highly doubt that Terry Rozier will have an impact on this team. But even if he starts to produce at a borderline all-star level, more than likely people will just write it off as inflated stats because he's on a bad team. And so after his 3 years of hell in Charlotte, once he's a free agent again, I promise you he's going to struggle to find any suitors that are willing to pay him anywhere near close to what he's getting paid now. A great example of this is what we just saw with Kentavious Caldwell-Pope. After his years in Detroit, he was looking for a new suitor. The Lakers were able to give him the money that he was needing, but if you actually take a step back and look at it, the Lakers were a bad franchise. They were not winning, a whole bunch of young players, and they were not going to make the playoffs. But yet, KCP, instead of going to a franchise that needed his services and they were going to make deep postseason runs, even though yes, he was going to have to take a pay cut, instead of taking that opportunity, he took the money, got paid nearly $30 million over the past 2 years, and here we are now at the age of 26, and KCP is still a free agent, struggling to find a team that would need his services. On the flip side though, you have players such as Brook Lopez, Seth Curry, and Julius Randle. All three players who took massive pay cuts last year joined rosters that gave them quality opportunities to display how productive they can be on teams that had the potential to make deep postseason runs. And even though it didn't happen with Julius Randle last year, however, surrounding him with players such as E'Twaun Moore, Anthony Davis, and Jrue Holiday really accentuated how good of a finisher he was around the rim and how versatile he was as a playmaker. So because of that, he got paid. And then when it comes to Seth Curry and Brook Lopez, especially Brook Lopez, both of them took pay cuts, joined playoff teams, both made it all the way to the conference finals, so they were able to prove that they were going to be able to be productive during deep postseason runs. Trust me when I say Terry Rozier will not get that opportunity in Charlotte. But wait, it gets worse. Do you know when he's going to be a free agent? In the summer of 2022. Do you know who else is going to be a free agent? Nearly every other guard. James Harden, John Wall, Russell Westbrook, Steph Curry, Kyrie Irving, Jrue Holiday, Gary Harris, Zach LaVine, Ricky Rubio, Marcus Smart, Corey Joseph, Spencer Dinwiddie, Jeremy Lamb, Norman Powell, Thomas Satoransky, and all of the guards that were just drafted in the past 2 years will either A, be restricted free agents, or B, looking for some type of extension. So Kobe White, Trae Young, Luka Doncic, Darius Garland, John Morant, Colin Sexton, and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. So all of those guards are the players that Terry Rozier will be competing with during that free agency class. And you can make an argument that Terry Rozier not even better than any of those players right now, let alone what he's going to look like after 3 years in hell in Charlotte. So I don't know what he's doing. Now you may be asking yourself, well, what team should he have joined? Good question. The Orlando Magic. Orlando's a team that had the cap space, just make the playoffs, had some quality players on the roster, and also they need a starting point guard. I mean, Orlando is so desperate at this point that they're giving Markelle Fultz an opportunity, so I'm pretty sure they would have given a swing at Terry Rozier. But to go to Charlotte just does not make any sense whatsoever. And speaking of Charlotte, let's talk about them next. Let's skim by the fact that the Hornets just overpaid Terry Rozier to the tune of nearly $19 million per year on average, which is ridiculous. Financially, that's on par with players such as Zach LaVine, Aaron Gordon, and $2 million more than Eric Bledsoe, who many people have just universally called an overpaid player. But let's all go back for the past 2 years and try to figure out, why didn't Charlotte trade Kemba Walker for the past year and a half to 2 if they were not going to give him a max contract? None of that makes any sense. And for years now, people have been trying to figure out what exactly they're going to do with Charlotte. And Jordan has been on record multiple times that they wanted to retain him, and that type of energy has been reciprocated from Kemba himself. But when you lowball Kemba to the tune of less than $170 million, what are you doing? Because at that point, who the hell wants to stay in Charlotte if they're not getting paid? I mean, that just doesn't make any sense. Now, some of you all may be sitting here telling yourself, well, Kemba's not really a max contract guy. He's definitely not a super max, and that's fine. And I understand if a team wants to be financially responsible, especially if they're not going to put themselves in a situation to win, that's cool. But you can't sit here and tell me that you're financially responsible and you don't want to pay the luxury tax for just one season when you have players such as Nicholas Batum receiving $25 million and Bismack Biyombo receiving $17 million. That just doesn't make any sense. But guess what? And this is interesting. Those are all things that Charlotte knew before this offseason came around. So if you were not willing to go over the luxury tax, why would you not just trade Kemba Walker during the regular season? Because I'm pretty sure you would have received something a little bit more valuable than an overpaid Terry Rozier. Just a little bit more valuable than Terry Rozier. But here's something that's even crazier. I searched far and wide and found no article that the Charlotte Hornets were even working out Tyler Hero. So you're telling me that more than likely you were going to lose Kemba and you weren't even going to draft his replacement? What sense does that make? Nothing. Absolutely nothing that the Charlotte Hornets have done in the last 18 to 24 months has made any sense whatsoever. Please, if you're not going to spend the money to retain your star caliber player, then trade him. And if you're not going to do that, then sell your team, because it just doesn't make any sense why Jordan is an owner if he's not going to spend the money. And Mitch Kupchak is a horrible general manager, and I knew that as a Laker fan for the past 7 years now. He's a horrible GM. And speaking of bad GMs, let's talk about Danny Ainge and the Boston Celtics. Now, I already know many people are going to sit here and say that, well, Danny Ainge, he's actually not that bad of a GM. And to be fair, that's true. Mitch Kupchak is horrible and Danny Ainge isn't on that level. But what exactly is Danny Ainge doing with the Boston Celtics right now? Now, when they drafted Tatum, like I stated in my draft video, I was blown away because it didn't make any sense to me, because they already had Jaylen Brown and everyone knew that they were going to get Gordon Hayward, so that was going to give them 3 small forwards, which if you don't believe that's a problem on this team, then you're just ignorant. But after doing that, they also went after Kyrie Irving, and they had a whole bunch of veterans mixed up with some young players on the roster. And even though people were trying to be optimistic about it, especially after both of the veterans went down and the young players started to emerge quicker than expected, it really and truly didn't work out in the second year, in which the Boston Celtics were vastly disappointing. Now, you can make an argument a lot that had to do with Kyrie Irving, and I would argue that you're probably giving way too much blame to Kyrie, but okay, cool, fine. If that's what you want to do, then cool, that's on you. But here's my problem. Danny Ainge, if you're not going to trade any of those young players to go after star caliber talent such as Paul George, Kawhi Leonard, or Anthony Davis, when Kyrie leaves, Just build the team through those young players. If those assets are as valuable as you are trying to lead people on to believe, then let's just see what they can do. Don't turn around and add another ball-dominant guard to the team. That does not make any sense. And honestly, I believe it's completely unfair to Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown that for another season, even though they keep being told that the team is theirs and the whole organization trusts them and they're not going to be traded, again, for another year, they're not given the opportunity to be the focal point of the offense, despite the fact that they both have been quality young players in their first 2 to 3 years in the NBA. Blows me away. But yet, if there was even more proof that they needed to just rebuild after losing both Marcus Morris and Al Horford, there should have been some light bulb that went off. But then, instead of just, again, rebuilding, they decided to free up some cap. In the process, even lost Aaron Baines and went after Kemba Walker, and then replace Al Horford with Enes Kanter of all people, a horrible defensive big that will easily erase this team's identity that they've had over the last 3 to 4 years now, and that is being a defensive-oriented unit. So I don't know why Danny Ainge just won't rebuild. I honestly believe that the bigger problem with this team is that they have 3 small forwards and they keep trying to throw some veterans in with the young guys without actually giving these young guys a fair opportunity to prove their worth on this roster, and I don't believe that any of that will be erased this upcoming season, even with Kyrie no longer being on the team. And then finally, we have Kemba Walker, the man himself. Now, I wanted the best for Kemba. I really did. I saw him struggling in Charlotte for 8 years. It was horrible to watch him just play with bad teammate after bad teammate, especially Michael Kidd-Gilchrist. So I wanted the best for him. And whatever that was going to be, it was either going to be A, getting paid in Charlotte, because there was absolutely no reason why he would need to take a pay cut to stay in that hellhole, or B, go to a team that was going to maximize his opportunity to win a championship. Yet somehow, Kemba found himself in the middle. So for starters, I don't know why Kemba made it publicly known that he was willing to take a pay cut if he stayed in Charlotte. That doesn't make any sense to me. Giving a pay cut to Charlotte doesn't mean anything. They're going to overpay for players regardless, so it doesn't make any sense for you to take a pay cut since you are the only star on that team. But luckily, Charlotte showed you their true colors and they lowballed you, so you already know not to be messing around with them. But since now we understand that you're not going to be in Charlotte, that now means the max that you can receive is a 4-year, $141 million contract. A contract that anybody can give you. So why is it that Kemba would make a decision before free agency would even begin? You're telling me that all these players are tampering with one another to build these super teams, and Kyrie and Kevin Durant are tampering with one another to build this super team in New York, and Kemba has the audacity to tamper with Boston? That's who you're tampering with? What exactly do you gain from joining the Boston Celtics? A team that you don't even know how the rest of the roster is going to look like. But Kemba jumped out the window, not day 1, but 2 days before free agency even began, and made it be known, I'm signing with the Boston Celtics. Then they lose Marcus Morris and Al Horford, thus making the team worse than what it was just a few days prior. Not only that though, the Bucks nearly bring back all of their players except for Malcolm Brogdon, and Brogdon goes to the Indiana Pacers, a team that's been building up a pretty quality team for the past few weeks now. Then you have the 76ers, who brought back Tobias Harris, traded Jimmy Butler, but in return received Josh Richardson and also signed Al Horford, so that's still going to be a really good team. And then you have KD and Kyrie, who granted more than likely this upcoming season won't be that good, but moving forward, especially if Kevin Durant comes back around 80 to 85% healthy, will easily be a better team than the Boston Celtics. And then finally, here we are today, where you could have teamed up with Kawhi and joined the Clippers, or B, the Los Angeles Lakers have freed up enough cap and they're looking for a starting guard, and you could have gone there. So why did you jump the gun? None of that made any sense. The Boston Celtics situation was not concrete. It was not set in stone. There was a lot of more moving pieces that needed to be done, and here we are now, and Boston is actually a worse team on paper than what they were last year, even after they lost Kyrie. So again, why did you jump the gun that soon? That just doesn't make any sense. So again, in a very, very rare occurrence, Everyone lost in this transaction. So with all that being said, people, please let me know what you think about this video and the whole situation and transaction in the comment section below. And pretty heated right now. But until next time, I'll see you all later. Peace.